Look, let me start with this. If you're watching this video, there's a good chance you're exhausted. Not tired like, oh, I need a nap. I mean exhausted in your soul. Because being married to someone who might be narcissistic, it doesn't feel like a normal hard marriage. It feels like you're constantly disappearing. Like you're there, but you're not really there. And I want to talk about that because people always ask, how do I know if my spouse is a narcissist? Honestly, the question isn't even the label. The real question is, do you feel safe being a full human being in your own home? That's it. Because if you're married to someone who needs to be right, needs to be admired, needs to win every emotional situation, you start shrinking slowly. And you don't even notice it at first. At first, it's subtle. You bring up something that hurt you, and somehow, 5 minutes later, you're apologizing. You're like, wait, how did we get here? You weren't attacking them. You weren't being dramatic. You were just saying something simple like, hey, that hurt. And suddenly, you're the problem. Suddenly, you're too sensitive. Suddenly, you're always making issues. That's one of the most painful parts. You start feeling like your emotions are inconvenient, like your feelings are an interruption. And over time, you stop bringing things up. Not because you don't care, but because it's pointless. It goes nowhere. Or worse, it turns into a fight where you end up feeling crazy. Let me tell you something. A narcissistic dynamic is not just someone being selfish. It's deeper. It's like they don't meet you emotionally. They manage you emotionally. They control the room. They control the story. And the story is always, they're good, you're difficult. Always. And if you've lived with that long enough, you start questioning yourself constantly. You start thinking, maybe I am too much. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe I really am the problem. That's the mind game. And I'm calling it a mind game because that's what it is. Not always intentional, by the way. Some people do it consciously, some people don't, but the effect is the same. You end up emotionally alone. You're married, but you're alone. And that loneliness is brutal because you're not grieving a breakup, you're grieving while still in the relationship. That's a special kind of pain. And here's another sign people don't talk about enough. You start feeling like love is conditional, like affection only comes when you're behaving correctly, when you're agreeable, when you're not challenging them, when you're playing the role. And look, marriage is compromise, but marriage is not emotional censorship. You shouldn't have to erase yourself to keep peace. That's not peace, that's survival. And survival gets old, fast. Now, let me say something blunt. If your spouse is narcissistic, you'll spend years trying to explain things. You'll try different words, different tones, different timing. You'll think, if I just say it the right way. But the problem isn't your delivery. The problem is that empathy doesn't land. It doesn't sink in. Because to them, your pain feels like criticism. And criticism feels like danger. So they defend, they flip, they blame, they minimize. They rewrite the story. And you're standing there thinking, are we living in the same reality? That's what drives people insane. It's not even the fights. It's the unreality. It's the emotional distortion. And you know what? If you relate to this even a little, just pause for a second, take a breath, because you're not imagining it. The dynamic is real, and it drains people. It drains good people, people with big hearts, people who keep trying, people who keep hoping. So what do? Honestly, step one is not fixing them. Step one is seeing clearly. Seeing clearly means stop asking, how do I get them to finally understand me? And start asking, what is this doing to me? What is it doing to my nervous system, to my confidence, to my peace, to my identity? Because if you're constantly walking on eggshells, that's not love. That's fear with a marriage license. And I'm not saying that to be dramatic. I'm saying it because people normalize this for decades. They say, that's just how he is, or that's just her personality. No, it's not normal to feel erased. It's not normal to feel punished for having emotions. Now, quick pause. If this is hitting home for you, do me a favor, like the video, follow, subscribe, share it with someone who needs it, because I promise you, there are so many people living this quietly. All right, now let's talk about healing, because people always want the answer. Should I leave? Should I stay? Look, I'm not going to give you some neat answer. Real life isn't neat. But I will tell you this. You cannot heal in a relationship where reality is constantly being bent. You can't. At minimum, you need boundaries. You need support. You need people who reflect you back to yourself, because narcissistic relationships slowly hypnotize you into self-doubt. So healing starts with truth, even if it's just privately admitting this isn't okay. And then you start building strength, not revenge, not drama, strength, clarity, the ability to say, I'm not doing this anymore. And sometimes that means leaving. Sometimes it means therapy. Sometimes it means a serious wake-up call. But the days of begging for basic emotional decency, those days end, because you deserve more than crumbs in a marriage. You deserve warmth. You deserve repair. You deserve someone who can look at you and say, I care that I hurt you. That's adulthood. That's love. So if you're in this, just know you're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not asking for too much. You're asking for something real. And that's allowed. And if you want help sorting through this, seriously, if you want someone to help you think clearly, set boundaries, heal, or decide what to do next, you can work with me one-on-one. The link is in my bio to book a session. Or you can reach me on pop call, chat, voice, video, whatever feels easiest. All right, take a breath tonight, and don't ignore what your soul already knows. Talk soon.